"Don't move," Bruno whispered, holding his breath, as the studio door nearly opened and unfamiliar footsteps stopped right outside. The red light above the recording booth was still on, pulsing softly like a heart trying to stay calm in the middle of fear. Risay didn't lift her head from Bruno's chest. Her blonde hair brushed against the black jacket he was wearing, warm, familiar, far too intimate for a moment that should never have existed. Outside, laughter from the crew blended with the clinking of glasses, a world that knew nothing about the two people hiding from reality and from themselves. Bruno felt Risay's heartbeat, fast and uneven, as if following the rhythm of a song they hadn't finished writing. His hand gripped the edge of the leather couch, an old habit whenever he was nervous, his fingernails pressing in until pale marks appeared and faded. He had always believed the stage was the most honest place in the world, but that night, honesty felt like a threat. "What if they come in?" Risay's voice was barely audible, more like a breath that accidentally formed words. "They won't," Bruno said, even though he wasn't sure. He always sounded confident. That was his habit, a mask learned over years of surviving an industry that swallowed people whole. But in front of Risay, that mask often cracked. The studio smelled of old wood and cold coffee. Black cables coiled across the floor like veins, and in the corner, an untouched piano reflected their image, too close, too real. Bruno tilted his head slightly, his chin almost touching the crown of Risay's head, and in that second, he knew he had already lost a battle he had never dared to name. He remembered how it all began, not with an explosion of emotion, but with silence. A songwriting session meant to be brief turned into a long night without plans. Risay sat on the floor, her back against the wall, strumming her guitar in a way that always made Bruno stop talking. She never played to impress. Every note felt like a small confession she refused to say out loud. "You always write about things you avoid," Bruno had said then, half joking, half serious. Risay smiled without looking at him. "And you always sing about things you've already left behind." The words hit harder than he expected. Bruno laughed, another habit to dodge discomfort, but from that moment on, something shifted. They worked longer, spoke less, and understood more. Silence became their most honest language. Night after night, the song took shape slowly. They never named it, as if giving it a title would make it too real. The lyrics were simple, almost too simple for two musicians with such massive reputations. No complex metaphors, no dramatic climax. Just one line they kept returning to, like a mantra they were afraid to complete: "Your head on my chest." Risay was the first to say it, half singing, half murmuring, when she was tired and leaned against him without thinking. Bruno froze. He could have pulled away, cracked a joke, stood up, and created distance. But he didn't. He let her stay there, listening to his own breathing slowly settle. Beneath that calm, each of them carried fears they never shared. Risay was afraid of becoming a fleeting story in someone else's already crowded life of songs and memories. She was used to being strong in front of cameras, but in the dark studio, she just wanted to be someone who didn't have to explain her feelings. Bruno, on the other hand, feared repeating old patterns, falling too deep, too fast, and then writing songs about a loss he could have avoided. The footsteps outside moved away. The laughter faded. The red light was still on. Risay finally shifted, lifting her head slightly. Her eyes met Bruno, and for a moment, the world narrowed to the few centimeters between them. There was no kiss, no confession, just a long look filled with all the words that would never be safe to say. "We should finish the song," Risay said, her voice steady again, as if rebuilding walls that had nearly collapsed. Bruno nodded. He stood, walked to the piano, and pressed a single low note that filled the room. The sound echoed, heavy, honest. Risay sat beside him, their shoulders almost touching. Almost, always almost. That was the boundary they agreed on without ever speaking it. When the recording began, Bruno sang softer than usual, as if afraid the world might hear him. Risay closed her eyes, matching her breath to the melody. The song didn't demand attention. It simply existed, like a secret entrusted to the air. When the final note faded, they didn't look at each other. There was no applause, only a silence that felt full. Bruno knew the song would be heard by many, dissected, analyzed, suspected. But none of them would know the truth, that the song wasn't about love beginning or ending, but about the fragile moment in between. Risay stood first. "Thank you," she said, and Bruno wasn't sure for what. "Anytime," he replied, professionalism sliding back into place. They left the studio with others, laughed at the right moments, parted ways in a brightly lit hallway. The world resumed as usual. But deep in Bruno's chest, the song kept playing, and he knew that as long as it existed, a part of him would always remain in that night, when someone's head rested on his chest, and silence became the most honest confession he had ever known. The night after the recording refuses to let them rest. Bruno finds Risay on the rooftop of the hotel, the city spread beneath her like a restless ocean of lights. The wind tangles her hair, and she doesn't turn when he steps closer, as if she already knows it's him. The silence between them is tighter than before, stretched thin by what they didn't say in the studio. "You left without looking back," Bruno says, trying to sound casual, failing. "If I looked back," Risay replies, her voice steady but sharp at the edges, "I wouldn't have stopped." That makes him pause. He leans against the railing beside her, close enough to feel her warmth, far enough to pretend he's still in control. Below them, sirens wail and fade, a reminder that the world keeps moving no matter how still they stand. "They're already talking," Bruno says. "The song leaked to 3 people, 3 becomes 30, 30 becomes headlines." Risay finally turns to him. Her eyes are bright, not with fear, but with something dangerously close to defiance. "Let them talk." "You say that now," he answers, tension creeping into his voice. "You don't get eaten alive the way I do when they decide a story is better than the truth." "And what is the truth, Bruno?" she asks, "because I'm tired of guessing." The question lands hard. He opens his mouth, closes it again. The habit of retreating kicks in, muscle memory built over years. Risay watches him, arms crossed, a small, bitter smile tugging at her lips. "That's what I thought," she says softly. "You hide behind songs because they don't ask you to stay." "That's not fair," he snaps, heat flaring before he can stop it. "You think this is easy for me." "No," she fires back. "I think it's easy for you to leave." The words cut deeper than he expects. Bruno steps closer, the space between them evaporating. "You think I don't want this?" His voice drops. "You think I don't hear your breathing every time I try to sleep?" Risay's breath catches, just for a second. The wind carries the faint scent of rain and city smoke. She looks at him like she's deciding whether to cross a line that can't be erased. "Then say it," she challenges. Out loud, no melody, no piano. He hesitates, the fear raw and exposed. Around them, cameras could appear at any moment, a single flash turning everything into scandal. He knows the risks. He knows the cost. And still, he reaches for her wrist, grounding himself in the reality of her pulse under his fingers. "I don't know how to do this halfway," he admits. "If I fall all the way." Risay steps in, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm already there." For a heartbeat, it feels like the world might crack open. Their foreheads touch, breath mingling, a near kiss charged with everything they've been holding back. It's intimate, intense, and terrifyingly public, even in its secrecy. A door slams behind them. Voices echo from the stairwell. They spring apart instinctively, the moment shattering into sharp fragments. Risay laughs under her breath, not from humor, but from the absurdity of it all. "See," she says, "always almost." Bruno watches her walk away, anger and longing twisting together in his chest. Later that night, he sits alone in his room, replaying the argument, the closeness, the way her voice shook when she said she was already there. He opens his notebook and writes without thinking, lines messy and raw, nothing like a song meant for the world. Meanwhile, Risay stares at her phone, messages piling up from managers, friends, rumors disguised as concern. She ignores them all. Instead, she plays the demo on repeat, listening for the spaces between the notes, the places where their silence lives. By morning, the city is calm again. Interviews are scheduled. Smiles are rehearsed. The song is officially announced, stripped of its context and dressed up for consumption. To everyone else, it's just music. To them, it's a line crossed, a truth tasted, and a question that no longer lets either of them pretend they don't hear it. The press room smells like expensive perfume and fresh coffee, a sterile brightness that makes Bruno's jaw tighten the moment he steps inside. Cameras are already aimed, red lights blinking like small warnings. Risset sits 2 chairs away from him, legs crossed, posture flawless, expression unreadable. If someone didn't know them, they'd think they were strangers who happened to share a project. That illusion almost works until she looks at him. It's quick, barely a second, but it's enough to remind him of the rooftop, of the words they nearly burned their lives with. A reporter smiles too widely. "The chemistry in the song is very intimate," she says. "Was that intentional?" Risset answers first, her voice smooth. "Music reflects emotion, that's all." Bruno hears the lie and hates how good she is at it. He leans toward his microphone. Sometimes emotion doesn't ask permission. The room stirs. Someone coughs. Another reporter raises a hand immediately. "So you're saying the song is personal?" Risset's eyes flick to him, warning sharp as glass. Bruno meets it anyway. "I'm saying," he continues slowly, "that pretending something isn't personal doesn't make it less true." The silence that follows is thick. Risset smiles then, but it doesn't reach her eyes. She jumps in before anyone can push further, redirecting the conversation with practiced ease. The moment passes, but the damage lingers between them like smoke. Backstage, she corners him the second the cameras are gone. Her hand clamps around his wrist, nails pressing just enough to hurt. "What are you doing?" she hisses. "Telling the truth," he fires back. "No," she snaps. "You're lighting a match and pretending it's warmth." He pulls his arm free. "You're the one who said you were already there. And you're the one who freezes when it matters." The words land harder because they're true. He takes a step closer, lowering his voice. "You want me to burn everything down for a moment that might not survive the fallout." Her laugh is sharp, brittle. "Don't turn this into strategy. This is fear." Before he can answer, her manager appears at the end of the hall, eyes darting between them. Risset straightens instantly, the wall snapping back into place. She walks away without another word, heels clicking like punctuation marks at the end of a sentence Bruno isn't ready to finish. That night, the internet explodes. Clips from the press conference circulate, slowed down, zoomed in, dissected. Headlines bloom like bruises. Fans argue. Commentators speculate. Someone notices the way Bruno looks at Risset when he thinks no one is watching. Someone else notices the way she never quite looks back. Bruno sits alone in his hotel room, lights off, phone glowing. He reads until the words blur. He's been famous long enough to know better, but this feels different. This isn't noise. This is a mirror. A knock at the door makes his heart stutter. When he opens it, Risset stands there, hood pulled low, eyes blazing. She pushes past him without waiting for permission. "Say it now," she demands, "before I lose my nerve." He closes the door behind her. The room feels suddenly too small. "Say what?" he asks, though they both know. She steps closer. "That you meant what you implied today, or that you're going to walk this back and leave me alone." Bruno runs a hand through his hair, packing once before stopping in front of her. "I can't give you half answers anymore." "Good," she says. "Neither can I." He looks at her, really looks, and sees the cracks she hides from everyone else. The exhaustion, the defiance, the hope she pretends she doesn't have. "I want you," he says finally, the words raw and unpolished. "And I'm terrified of what that costs." Risset's breath shakes. "I don't need promises," she replies softly. "I need honesty." He steps into her space, close enough to feel her warmth, but he doesn't touch her. Not yet. Then here it is. "I don't know how to protect you and keep you at the same time." Her eyes shine, but she doesn't look away. "Then stop trying to protect me from myself." For a moment, neither of them moves. The tension is electric, unbearable. Then she reaches up, resting her forehead against his chest, exactly like the lyric that started everything. Bruno's hands hover, unsure, before finally settling at her back, light but certain. "This is dangerous," he murmurs. "I know," she answers. "That's why it matters." Outside, phones buzz with new rumors, new theories. Inside, two people stand on the edge of a decision that will change everything, whether they choose to step forward together or pull apart before the world forces the choice for them. The next morning arrives without mercy. Bruno wakes to the vibration of his phone, relentless, angry. Messages stack over one another: management, label executives, numbers he doesn't recognize. He doesn't need to read them to know what they say. The world has decided there is a story, and it wants blood. Across the city, Risay sits in front of a mirror while a stylist pretends not to listen. Her reflection looks calm, almost cold, but her hands tremble in her lap. She keeps hearing Bruno's voice from the night before, the way it cracked when he said her name without music to soften it. They meet again in a black SUV with tinted windows, silence thick as the leather seats. No cameras can see them here, but the tension is worse without an audience. "You shouldn't have let me stay," Risay says first, staring straight ahead. Bruno exhales sharply. "You're not a mistake." "That's not what I said." She turns to him then, eyes sharp. "I said you shouldn't have let me stay if you were going to wake up afraid." His jaw tightens. "You think I'm afraid of you?" "I think you're afraid of choosing," she fires back. "And I'm tired of being the question you never answer." The car stops at a red light. Outside, fans cluster near barricades, holding signs with their names written side by side like a dare. Bruno laughs bitterly. "Look at that," he mutters. "They already decided for us." Risay's voice softens, dangerous in its calm. "Then why are you still fighting it?" "Because I know how this ends," he thinks. "Because I've lived the fallout. Because loving someone in public means losing them in private." But he doesn't say any of that. Instead, he turns to her, frustration spilling over. "Because if this goes wrong, they won't just blame me. They'll tear you apart." Her laugh is quiet, almost sad. "They already do that, you just don't watch." The words hang between them, heavy and undeniable. The car starts moving again, and for a moment, Bruno feels like they're being carried towards something neither of them can stop. Later, backstage at a live showcase, tension simmers under every polished smile. Bruno catches Risay's gaze across the room, sees the way her shoulders stiffen when a producer whispers too close, when a comment lingers a second too long. Something ugly and protective rises in him. When they take the stage together, the room erupts. The song begins softly, but the air crackles. Every lyric feels like a provocation now. Bruno sings directly to her, voice rougher than rehearsed. Risay answers him with a look that's almost a challenge. When the line comes, "Your head on my chest," the crowd holds its breath. Risay steps closer than planned. Close enough that Bruno can smell her perfume, feel the heat of her skin. She tilts her head just slightly, not touching him, but close enough to blur the line between performance and confession. The audience explodes. Backstage afterward, chaos erupts. Managers shout. Phones are shoved into faces. Someone slams a door. "What the hell was that?" Bruno's manager demands. Bruno doesn't answer. His eyes are on Risay. She doesn't apologize. She doesn't look away. "I'm done pretending," she says, voice steady despite the storm around them. "If this is a scandal, let it be honest." The room goes silent. Bruno steps forward before anyone can stop him. "Then it's on me," he says. "All of it." Risay turns sharply. "Don't you dare turn me into collateral." "I'm not," he insists. "I'm standing with you." For the first time, she looks unsure. "That's not the same as staying." The words cut deep. He swallows hard. "Tell me to walk away," he says quietly. "Look at me and say it." She searches his face, really searches it, as if trying to see the future written there. Her voice breaks when she speaks. "I don't want you to walk away. I want you to stop standing halfway out the door." The argument doesn't end with a kiss. It ends with exhaustion, with two people sitting on opposite ends of a couch, hands clenched, hearts racing, knowing they've crossed into a place where neutrality is no longer possible. That night, a photo leaks. It's blurry, taken from too far away but unmistakable. Risset on the rooftop. Bruno close enough that his hand might be on her back. Might. The internet erupts again, louder this time. Bruno watches the photo spread, chest tight, and realizes something terrifying and clear. The world already believes this love story exists. The only question left is whether he and Risset are brave enough to live inside it, or strong enough to survive what it will take if they don't. The fallout comes faster than either of them expects. Bruno is halfway through a call with his label when Risset storms into the room without knocking, phone in her hand, eyes blazing. He knows that look. Something has crossed from rumor into threat. "They're asking for a statement," she says, throwing the phone onto the couch. Not clarification, control. He ends the call without another word. "Mine too." "They want us to deny it," she continues, voice tight. "Say the song is fictional. Say the moment on stage was choreography. Say the photo is misleading." "And," Bruno asks quietly. Risset laughs, sharp and humorless. "And if we don't, they'll start canceling things. Tour, deals, they'll say I'm reckless. They'll say you're exploiting me." The word hangs there, ugly and poisonous. Bruno's jaw clenches. "That's not what this is." "I know," she says immediately, stepping closer. But knowing doesn't stop them. He runs a hand over his face, exhaustion finally cracking through the bravado. "I've spent my whole life protecting the work by hiding the truth." "And how did that end?" she asks softly. He looks at her then, really looks. She isn't asking him to save her. She's asking him to stand still long enough to be seen. "There's one condition," he says slowly. "If we do this, really do it, I won't let them turn you into a headline with teeth. No half statements, no coded language." Risset's breath trembles. "You mean we tell the truth?" "I mean," he says, stepping closer, lowering his voice, "we tell our truth, not everything, just enough." Silence stretches between them, heavy with consequence. Outside, the city hums, indifferent. "What if it ruins us?" she asks, finally letting the fear surface. Bruno answers without hesitation. "What if pretending already is?" They stand there for a long moment. Then Risset nods once, decision settling in her bones. "Okay." The statement goes live an hour later. It doesn't confirm a relationship. It doesn't deny emotion. It talks about connection, honesty, and the danger of stripping art of its humanity. It's careful, but it's real. The reaction is immediate and explosive. Some praise the courage. Some accuse them of manipulation. Others demand more, always more. Bruno and Risset read none of it. They sit on the floor of the studio instead, backs against the wall, the same place where everything quietly began. "This is the part where we're supposed to feel relieved," Risset murmurs. Bruno exhales a laugh. "I feel like I just jumped without checking the ground." She leans her head against his shoulder, tentative, asking without words. This time he doesn't freeze. He lets her stay. "I don't know what happens next," she says. "Neither do I," he replies, "but I know what I don't want." She tilts her head to look at him, which is another song about something I was too scared to live. Her eyes soften, then fill. "You know this doesn't turn into a fairy tale, right?" He nods. "I'm not asking for forever, I'm asking for now." That night there are no cameras, no statements, no performances. Just two people cooking badly in a quiet kitchen, arguing about chords, laughing at nothing. It's ordinary. It's fragile. It's everything they were never supposed to have. Weeks later, the song climbs charts around the world. Fans hear it differently now. Some hear romance. Some hear heartbreak. Some hear a goodbye. Only Bruno and Risset know the truth. That the song was never a promise. It was a moment. A night when fear loosened its grip. A breath shared. A head resting on a chest, not as a symbol, not as a performance, but as a choice. And even if the world never gets the ending it wants, that moment remains untouched, alive in silence, where the most honest confessions have always lived.